The grand tribunal chamber hung in the emptiness of space like a colossal glass sphere, its transparent walls revealing the swirling colors of the Andromeda Nebula beyond. Inside, thousands upon thousands of alien beings filled the observation galleries. Their forms defied imagination. Some floated as clouds of luminescent gas. Others towered on multiple legs, their exoskeletons gleaming under the harsh lights. A few existed as pure energy, contained within force fields that hummed with power. At the center of this vast arena, 3 humans stood in a pool of blinding white light. Ambassador Marcus Webb kept his hands clasped behind his back. His posture relaxed despite the weight of countless hostile eyes upon him. To his left stood Commander Riley Banks, her hand resting casually near the weapon at her hip. On his right, Dr. Nora Voss adjusted her tablet with the calm detachment of someone checking her grocery list above them. Suspended on a platform that defied gravity loomed High Judge Q Valish. The judge's crystalline body refracted light into 1,000 rainbow fragments. When he spoke, his voice resonated through the chamber like the grinding of continental plates.
Species 7749.
Designation: Humanity. You stand accused of 17 violations of the Galactic Concordat. The alien audience erupted in a cacophony of sounds. Roars, clicks, electromagnetic pulses, and frequencies beyond human hearing merged into a wall of hostility. Kaviash raised one. Crystalline appendage and silence fell. Unauthorized military expansion, weaponization of restricted technologies, colonization beyond your designated zone. His facets flashed crimson, and most grievously, refusing to submit to council authority. A serpentine creature in the front gallery, scales shifting through multiple colors, hissed loudly enough for everyone to hear. They should never have been invited at all. A joke invitation wasted on primitives. Marcus noticed several other aliens nodding in agreement. Good. Let them underestimate us, Kavalish continued. 6 cycles ago, this council extended an invitation to your species, a symbolic gesture of inclusion. We expected gratitude, humility. Instead, you have become a threat to galactic order. Marcus finally spoke, his voice carrying across the vast space with surprising clarity. With respect, High Judge, we found something interesting in that invitation. The chamber fell silent. Kavalish's crystalline form pulsed with an emotion Marcus couldn't quite identify. Confusion? Anger? When our communications teams decoded your message, Marcus said, they discovered metadata attached to the file. Hidden text that your encryption was supposed to protect. He paused, letting the tension build. It said joke species. Your leadership was laughing about inviting the primates for entertainment. Gasps and strange alien sounds rippled through the galleries. Several representatives shifted uncomfortably. Marcus noticed Lady Jonah, an elegant being whose form seemed to exist partially in multiple dimensions, watching him with what might have been interest. So humanity had a choice, Marcus continued. Accept the mockery and bow our heads, or change the rules entirely. Riley smiled, a predator's expression that made several nearby aliens lean back. Nora's tablet chimed softly, a signal. Everything was proceeding according to plan. Kavalish's body flared bright red. You dare speak of rules while violating every law of this council. We dare, Marcus said simply. And now we're going to show you what this joke species can do. The lights flickered. Through the transparent walls, shapes began emerging from the nebula. Massive shapes, ships, hundreds of them. Their hulls were dark gray, almost black, with lines of blue energy pulsing along their surfaces. They moved with predatory grace, spreading out in a formation that any military mind would recognize as an encirclement. The human fleet had arrived. Chaos exploded in the chamber. Aliens shouted, roared, and transmitted panic across every frequency. Security forces rushed forward, their weapons trained on the 3 humans. Marcus noticed that none of them seemed eager to fire first. Remove your fleet immediately, Kavalish commanded, his voice shaking the very air, or face total annihilation. Marcus shook his head slowly. I don't think so. 6 years earlier on Earth, a junior communications officer named Tom Rivera sat in a cramped station in Nevada, surrounded by screens displaying alien transmissions. He had been part of the team that received humanity's first message from the stars, an invitation to join something called the Galactic Council. Everyone was celebrating. The president was preparing a speech. Scientists were already planning diplomatic missions. First contact was supposed to be humanity's greatest moment. Tom, however, was frowning at his screen. "There's something wrong with this file," he muttered to himself. He ran the decryption program again, going deeper than the obvious message layer. And there, buried in the code, he found it. A video file. Time-stamped, showing what appeared to be a meeting of alien leaders. They were laughing. The translation software struggled with their language, but certain phrases came through clearly. Imagine their faces when they realize. The primates will be so grateful. Best joke in a millennium. Tom felt his stomach drop. He recorded everything, encrypted it, and sent it directly to his superior with a priority flag. Within hours, it reached the highest levels of government. Within days, every major world leader had seen it. The invitation was a mockery. Humanity was being invited as entertainment, as a curiosity to be patronized and dismissed. The world's reaction was swift and unified in a way nothing else had ever achieved. If the galaxy saw humanity as a joke, then humanity would give them a punchline they would never forget. Back in the tribunal chamber, Marcus watched as the alien security forces froze, uncertain. The human fleet had not fired, had not even powered weapons. They simply existed, a silent promise of violence held in check by the thinnest thread of restraint. "For 6 years," Marcus said, "humanity has been studying you, learning your technologies, understanding your weaknesses. You thought we were grateful primitives, eager to please our betters. We were students preparing for an exam you didn't know you were going to take." He gestured to Nora, who stepped forward and projected a hologram into the air. It showed schematics, equations, and technologies that made several alien scientists lean forward with shocked expressions. "Every piece of equipment you let us access," Nora said in her matter-of-fact professor voice. "Every cultural exchange, every trade agreement, we learned from all of it, and then we improved on it." A council member, a bulky being covered in thick armor plates, slammed appendage down. "Impossible. Your species barely mastered nuclear fission when we found you." "True," Riley said, speaking for the first time. "But we're fast learners, and we're very, very motivated." Svalish attempted to regain control. "This is meaningless theater. The Council possesses weapons beyond your comprehension. Surrender now and accept vassal status, or your homeworld will be reduced to atoms." Marcus had been waiting for this. "Then do it. Activate your pacification field, the one you use to disable primitive species technology when they get too troublesome." Alish hesitated. "That was a classified system. How did the human know about it?" "Go ahead," Marcus pressed. "We'll wait." In the command center of the lead council warship, an admiral gave the order. The pacification field generators hummed to life, sending out a wave of energy designed to shut down any technology within range. It was how the council maintained order, how they kept younger species in line. The human ships continued operating normally. The admiral stared at his instruments in disbelief. The field is active, maximum power, but their systems are unaffected. Back in the chamber, Nora smiled. "We found your pacification technology 8 months ago. Took us 3 months to develop countermeasures. Been testing them ever since. They work beautifully." A private communication request flashed on Marcus's neural implant. He accepted it, but immediately broadcast it to the entire chamber instead of keeping it private. An alien appeared in hologram form, sleek being with too many eyes. "Ambassador Trell of the Havori Dominion. Ambassador Webb, perhaps we can discuss this privately. Surely an arrangement can be made. Vassal status is not so terrible. You would have protection, trade access, and you're already negotiating." Marcus interrupted, still broadcasting publicly. "Because you're afraid. The Council's unity is cracking." Trell's hologram vanished abruptly, but the damage was done. The other council members were looking at each other with suspicion. If the Havori were already trying to cut deals, who else was? Kavalish's crystalline body flared with rage. Enough. Council fleet. Weapons free. Destroy the human vessels. Throughout the nebula, massive warships powered up their weapons. Energy signatures spiked across every spectrum. The human fleet was outnumbered 10-1. Riley checked her console. Looked at Marcus. Phase 2 is ready. Marcus nodded once. Execute. The human ships vanished. Not destroyed. Not retreated. Simply gone, as if they had never existed. Every sensor in the council fleet showed empty space where hundreds of human vessels had been seconds before, in the tribunal chamber. Kavalish spun his massive form, his facets flickering with confusion and rising fear. What is this? Where did they go? Marcus smiled, and it was not a kind expression. We told you. We learned everything you taught us. And then we improved on it. You're fighting yesterday's humanity. But we're all ready tomorrow. Around the chamber, alien. Military commanders were shouting into communicators, demanding answers their sensors couldn't provide. The human fleet had simply disappeared from the face of the galaxy. Riley's console chimed again. She read the message and her smile grew wider. Marcus, our forces are in position. All 12 targets confirmed. Kavalish turned back to the humans. What targets? What have you done? Marcus looked up at the towering judge, 3 humans facing the might of a galactic civilization. Hi, Judge, we've just taken 12 of your most strategic positions. While your fleet was here, preparing to destroy our ships in this nebula, we were executing the real operation. Welcome to Phase 2. The holographic display in the command center showed 12 red dots scattered across council space. Each one represented a facility now under human control. General Patricia Hale stood before the tactical map, her gray hair pulled back severely. Her expression, carved from stone. Confirm all positions secured, she ordered. A young officer responded immediately. Shipyard Theta 7 is ours. Minimal casualties. Supply Depot Vor 9 secured. Communications Hub Relay 6 through 12 all reporting green status. Patricia allowed herself the smallest smile. 3 days of planning. 6 years of preparation. And now, in less than 2 hours, humanity had accomplished what should have been impossible. General, another officer called out. We're receiving transmission from Lieutenant Jacob Stone aboard the Defiance. Put him through. The hologram shifted to show a young man in a combat suit, his face streaked with sweat. Behind him, human Marines were herding confused alien technicians into a corner of what looked like a massive construction bay. Ma'am, Shipyard Theta 7 is completely under our control. We've captured the facility intact. No major damage. The aliens didn't even have time to activate their security protocols. Patricia nodded. Good work, Lieutenant. Hold position and prepare for counterattack. They'll come for you. We're ready, ma'am. The transmission ended. Patricia turned to her second-in-command, Colonel Raymond Hayes. They'll vote for total war now. Every major power in the Council will demand Earth's destruction. Raymond grunted. Let them try. We've been preparing for this since we discovered what they really thought of us. The memory came unbidden. 6 years ago, in a secure facility beneath the Swiss Alps, representatives from every major nation on Earth gathered around a table. For once, politics and old grudges were set aside. The alien mockery had done what centuries of diplomacy could not. United humanity completely. The American president spoke first. They invited us as a joke. As entertainment, the question is, what do we do about it? The Chinese premier leaned forward. We could refuse the invitation, maintain our dignity, and remain isolated, the Russian delegate countered. Unknown and vulnerable. They know where we are now. If we reject them, they might decide we're not even worth keeping around. The British Prime Minister tapped the table. There's a third option. We accept the invitation. We smile and pretend we don't know about the insult. And while they're laughing at us, we learn everything we can about them. A woman at the far end of the table stood up. Dr. Leo Frank, theoretical physicist, and the youngest person in the room. It's more than just learning. We need to understand how they think. Council species are old. They've had the same technologies for thousands of years. They're comfortable, complacent. They innovate slowly because they don't need to innovate at all. And humans? The French president asked. Leo smiled. We're desperate, ambitious, and we have something to prove. Give us 6 years with access to alien technology, and we won't just copy it. We'll improve it. We'll combine it in ways they never considered. We'll make weapons they don't even recognize as weapons until it's too late. The plan was born in that room. Operation Checkmate. Accept the Council's invitation. Send diplomats who would smile and nod and play the role of grateful primitives. Meanwhile, Earth's best scientists, engineers, and military strategists would work in secret, building a fleet that could challenge the galaxy itself. In the tribunal chamber, the chaos had not subsided. Alien representatives shouted at each other, some demanding immediate military response, others calling for negotiation. Marcus Webb stood calmly in the center of it all, waiting. Cavalish's crystalline form pulsed with barely controlled rage. You have committed an act of war against the entire Galactic Council. Every species here will unite to destroy you, will they? Marcus gestured to the galleries. Look around, High Judge. Really look. Your unity is an illusion. He was right. The alien representatives were divided. The major powers, species like the Havori, the Vryn, and the Keltheran Empire, were calling for blood. But the minor species, the ones who had been dominated by council politics for centuries, were watching with different expressions. Hope, interest, calculation. Voice cut through the noise. Calm, measured, ancient silence. Lady Jonah rose from her seat. She was one of the oldest beings in the council, her form shimmering between dimensions, partially visible in ways that hurt to look at directly. When she spoke, everyone listened. Ambassador Webb, you have made your point. You are not weak. You are not grateful primitives. But conquest and consolidation are different things. You have taken 12 positions. How precisely do you intend to hold them when the full might of the council arrives? Marcus met her gaze without flinching. We don't need to hold them, Lady Jonah. We just needed you to commit your fleets to retake them. A chill ran through the chamber. Several military commanders suddenly looked very uncomfortable. Explain, Lady Jonah said softly. Riley stepped forward, her console displaying tactical data. You've already dispatched 200 ships to reclaim our captured positions. Your largest fleet, commanded by Warlord Kress of the Vryn Collective. They're currently en route through the Corsair Nebula. A direct path, the Havori Admiral said. The fastest route is also the most predictable, Riley replied. And we have ships waiting there. Implications hit like a physical blow. Cavalish's voice shook. You led us into a trap, gave you targets you couldn't ignore, Marcus corrected. You responded exactly as we predicted. Warlord Kress is flying his fleet into an ambush. A reptilian commander slammed his claws against his armrest. Impossible. The Corsair Nebula's radiation would hide your ships from sensors? Yes, but it would also disable your own systems. No one can operate in that environment. Nora spoke up, her voice academic and patient. No one could. Past tense. We solved that problem for months ago. Adaptive shielding that filters radiation while maintaining full sensor capability. Your scientists said it was impossible. We did it anyway. This is insanity, another alien shouted. You're declaring war on a civilization that spans 47 species and thousands of worlds. Marcus shook his head. We're not declaring war. We're demanding equality. Acknowledge humanity as a sovereign power with full council privileges, or we proceed to Phase 3. And if we refuse? Kivalish asked. Then Warlord Kress and his fleet become our prisoners. Then your next fleet meets the same fate. Then we start targeting economic infrastructure instead of military. Then your minor species start wondering why they're dying to preserve a system that treats them as second-class members. Marcus's voice hardened. We can do this quickly and relatively bloodlessly, High Judge, or we can do it the hard way. Your choice. An alarm blared through the chamber. A holographic display materialized, showing the Corsair Nebula. 200 council ships entering from one side, and then, like wolves emerging from fog. Human vessels appeared on all sides, smaller, faster, using the nebula's radiation to mask their movements. The Battle of Corsair had begun. Lieutenant Stone watched from his position at the captured shipyard as the tactical feed came through. The Council fleet had no chance. Human ships darted through the magnetic fields, their weapons precisely calibrated to disable rather than destroy. EMP bursts shut down alien engines. Boarding pods latched onto holes. Marines poured into breached sections. It was brutal, efficient, and most importantly, it left survivors within 20 minutes. Warlord Kress's flagship was boarded. The proud reptilian commander found himself surrounded by human soldiers. His bridge crew disarmed and confused. Jacob Stone's voice came over the tactical channel. Ambassador Webb, flagship secured. Warlord Kress is our prisoner. The rest of his fleet is surrendering. In the tribunal chamber, the news hit like a bomb. The Council's largest military response had been neutralized. Hundreds of officers and crew were now human captives. Marcus turned back to Key Elish. We have prisoners. Your people. We could have killed them. We didn't. This isn't about genocide or revenge. It's about respect. But he wasn't speaking to Cavelish anymore. He was speaking to the minor species in the galleries. His voice broadcast across every channel. For those of you watching who aren't part of the Council's inner circle, I want you to see something. Nora projected a new hologram. Documents. Financial records. Trade agreements. All showing how the major Council powers had exploited smaller species for centuries, keeping them technologically dependent, politically weak, economically subservient. This is your Council, Marcus said. A hierarchy that benefits the few at the expense of the many. Earth doesn't want to replace them as your masters. We want to break the system entirely. Small alien in the far gallery stood you. P. Ambassador Rel of the Cooperative Union, a species humanity had never heard of until today. His voice was quiet but carried throughout the chamber. Is this true? Would Earth truly support equality for all species? Yes, Marcus said simply. Because we remember what it's like to be dismissed. To be mocked, to be treated as less than we are. We won't do that to others. Baelish's crystalline form flared desperately. This is manipulation. Lies designed to fracture our unity. But cracks were already showing. Minor species were talking among themselves, looking at the major powers with new suspicion. The foundation of Council authority was shaking. Then Kavalish made his fatal mistake. Activate the Void Hammer, he commanded. The chamber fell silent. Even the major powers looked shocked. High Judge, Lady Jonah said carefully. That weapon is forbidden by our own laws. These are exceptional circumstances. Riley's console lit up with warnings. She looked at Marcus, her face pale. The Void Hammer. It's charging. Target is Mars. Marcus felt ice in his veins. Mars Colony. Where military families sheltered. Where children played in domed cities. Where humanity's future lived. He looked up at Key Baelish, and for the first time his calm facade cracked. His voice was quiet, deadly. You just made the biggest mistake in galactic history. Riley's hands flew across her console. Marcus, if we activate the Omega Protocol, there's no going back. The entire Council will know what we're capable of. Marcus closed his eyes briefly. Saw the faces of those children on Mars. Open them again. Do it. Show them Earth's final answer. Signal transmitted from the tribunal chamber to a hidden location, deep beneath Earth's Pacific Ocean. And in that secret facility, Dr. Raymond Pierce received 3 words that would change everything. Awaken the sleepers. Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean. 3 miles below the surface where sunlight never reached. A facility older than any human structure hummed to life. Dr. Raymond Pierce stood in the control center, his fingers hovering over a console that looked like it belonged in a science fiction film. Around him, screens displayed data that would have been incomprehensible to anyone outside his team. Omega Protocol confirmed, he said into his headset. Beginning activation sequence. Not from the ocean pressure, but from something waking up. Something that had been sleeping for longer than human civilization had existed. All stations report status, Raymond commanded. Responses came from around the world. From hidden bases in the Sahara Desert, from installations buried in Antarctic ice, from platforms concealed in asteroid fields beyond Pluto. Humanity had been busy for 6 years, and this was their greatest secret. Sir, a young technician said, her voice shaking with equal parts fear and excitement. The sleepers are responding. All 7,000 platforms are coming online. Rahman took a deep breath. Then let's hope we're right about this. Initiate the awakening. Cross the galaxy in dead systems and forgotten nebulae. In asteroid fields and the hearts of dying stars, ancient machines stirred. They had waited for millennia. And now, finally, they recognized something in the signals from Earth, something they had been programmed to find. Were the inheritor species 5 years earlier? A research team examining debris from a council probe had found something strange. A piece of technology that did not match any known alien design. It was older, more sophisticated, and when they tried to activate it, it had rejected every alien command code. But when Dr. Leo Frank, out of desperation, had used a sample of his own DNA as an access key, combined with mathematical patterns derived from human neural structures, the device had responded. Not with hostility. With recognition, the discovery changed everything. Humanity learned that the galaxy had not always been ruled by the Council. Long ago, a civilization called the Precursors had built wonders beyond imagination. Then they vanished, leaving behind automated defense platforms scattered throughout space. The Council knew about these platforms, but considered them dead technology. Failed experiments? They were wrong. The platforms were not dead. They were waiting. And their programming contained specific criteria for activation, criteria that humanity somehow met, but Council species did not. No one understood why. The best theory was that the Precursors had valued innovation, adaptability, and something the scientists called constructive chaos. Humans excelled at all three. Earth's governments poured resources into Project Prometheus. Find the platforms. Study them. Learn to communicate with them. And if possible, convince them that humanity was worthy of their protection. It had taken 5 years, but they had succeeded. In the space near Mars, the Void Hammer charged its weapon. The device was massive, a construction of warped space-time and exotic matter that made reality itself bend around it. It was the Council's ultimate weapon, used only twice in their entire history. Both times, entire civilizations had been erased from existence. Now, it was aimed at Mars Colony. At the domed cities, where 50,000 humans lived, where children attended schools and families, built lives among the red rocks, the weapon's energy signature built to critical levels. In the colony, alarms wailed. People ran to emergency shelters, parents clutching children, knowing that the shelters would do nothing against what was coming. Then something appeared between Mars and the Void Hammer, a platform. Ancient and enormous, its surface covered in geometric patterns that hurt to look at. It had simply materialized from nowhere. It's moving faster than light without appearing to travel at all. The Void Hammer fired. The platform absorbed the entire blast. Not with shields. Not by deflecting. It simply took the weapon's reality-warping energy and neutralized it. Processing power that could erase a planet like it was nothing more than static electricity. Then the platform did something that made Council scientists watching from a dozen worlds gasp in synchronized shock. It reached out with invisible forces, grabbed the Void Hammer itself, and folded it through dimensions. The massive weapon simply vanished. Relocated instantly to the edge of the galaxy where it could harm nothing, in the tribunal chamber. Cavalish's crystalline form flickered between colors too rapidly to follow. That's impossible. The precursor platforms are inert. They've been studied for thousands of years, Marcus smiled. You studied them. You never understood them. There's a difference. Across Council space, more platforms appeared. They positioned themselves near major military installations, not attacking, not threatening, simply existing. Silent promises that they could strike anywhere, at any moment. And there was nothing the Council could do to stop them. A Keltheran admiral pulled up sensor data, his multiple eyes widening. There are thousands of them. 7,000 at minimum. Each one more powerful than our entire fleet combined. Riley's console showed the same data. She looked at Marcus with something between awe and terror. It worked. They all responded. Nora stepped forward, her voice taking on the patient tone of a teacher, explaining something to confused students. The precursors left these platforms as a test. Only species that met certain criteria could activate them. Innovation, adaptability, the willingness to take risks. The Council failed that test thousands of years ago. You found the platforms and decided they were broken because they wouldn't obey you. We succeeded, Marcus continued, because we approached them differently. Not as masters demanding obedience, but as students seeking to understand. The platforms recognized something in humanity. Maybe our creativity. Maybe our desperation. Maybe just our refusal to accept limitations. He looked directly at Kavlish. Whatever the reason, they answered to us. Not to you, Lady Jonah spoke, and her tone had changed completely. The condescension was gone, replaced by something that might have been respect. The precursor protocols, the mandate of inheritance. We thought it was a myth. You're telling us you've earned it? Not just earned it, Marcus said. Proven it. When the Void Hammer threatened Mars, the platforms defended us without being asked. They recognize Earth as their inheritors. The chamber erupted. Some aliens called Marcus a liar. Others demanded to see proof. A few, mostly from minor species, looked at humanity with new eyes. If the precursors had chosen Earth, what did that say about the Council's claims to authority? Kivalish tried to restore order, but his voice had lost its certainty. This changes nothing. The Council will not surrender to threats. Then we vote, Ambassador Rel said, standing in the gallery. His small form seemed larger somehow, filled with courage. Council law allows for reformation votes in times of crisis. I invoke that right. Let us decide. Do we continue this war, or do we negotiate a new order? You have no authority? A Havori representative snarled. Every member has this right, Lady Jonah said firmly. It's in the founding documents. Rarely used, but legal. I second the motion. The vote was called. Major powers voted for war, unwilling to accept diminished authority. Minor species voted overwhelmingly for negotiation. The chamber's displays showed the count climbing. It was close. Too close. Then Ambassador Rel made his proposal. I move that we dissolve the current council structure entirely. Form a new galactic assembly where every species, regardless of size or power, has equal representation. With humanity as a founding member, the chamber fell silent. It was revolutionary, insane, and exactly what half the council members had been hoping someone would say. For centuries, Marcus watch. D, as the vote tallied. The minor species were backing Rel almost unanimously. A few major powers, seeing which way the wind was blowing, were switching their votes. Lady Jonah voted yes, and her faction followed. The Keltheran Empire abstained, which was almost as good as support. The vote was going to pass. Against all odds, against all logic, humanity was about to reshape galactic government. Then the alarms sounded. Not council alarms. Something deeper, more primal. The kind of warning that bypassed conscious thought and triggered pure instinct. Every being in the chamber felt it. Danger. Massive danger. Something wrong with reality itself. Through the transparent walls, they saw it. A tear in space, like the fabric of the universe, was being ripped open. And through that tear, ships emerged. Bioorganic vessels, their hulls looking more like living tissue than metal. They pulsed with sickly light. A transmission came through. The translation system struggled, glitching and failing. Only Nora's custom equipment could process it. Her face went pale. Marcus, they're calling themselves the Remnant Collective. They say they're the true heirs of the precursors, that we're pretenders, and they're here to sterilize everyone who opposes them. The remnant ships opened fire, not on human vessels, not on council ships, on everything. Indiscriminate, pure, efficient destruction. A council dreadnought exploded, then another. The remnant weapons phased through shields like they didn't exist. Marcus looked at Riley and Nora, then at Kavalish, then at Lady Jonah. The vote was forgotten. Politics didn't matter anymore because something worse than any of them had just arrived, and it wanted them all dead. The tribunal chamber shook violently as a remnant weapon struck its outer shields. The transparent walls cracked, spiderwebs of fractures spreading across the surface. Alarms screamed through every frequency. Alien representatives scattered in panic, some trying to reach evacuation pods, others frozen in terror. Marcus Webb was thrown to his knees. Riley grabbed his arm, hauling him up. "We need to evacuate now." But Marcus was staring at the remnant ships through the damaged walls. His mind was racing, calculating, analyzing. These vessels moved differently than anything he had seen. Their weapons phased through shields. Their hulls regenerated damage almost instantly, and they coordinated with a precision that suggested a hive intelligence. "No," he said quietly. "This changes everything." Another explosion rocked the chamber. A section of the upper gallery collapsed, crushing unfortunate aliens beneath debris. The High Judge KVLH was shouting orders, but his voice was lost in the chaos. Council warships outside were engaging the remnants and dying by the dozens. Riley pulled at Marcus's arm. "We can't fight them. We need to get you to safety." Marcus turned to look at her. Then at Kavalish. Then at Lady Jonah, who had remained remarkably calm despite the destruction around her. An idea was forming. A terrible, desperate idea. "Get me a channel to General Hale," he said, "and one to Lady Jonah. Private frequency." Riley stared at him like he had gone insane. But she did it. Within seconds, Marcus was connected to both Earth's military command and one of the Council's most powerful members. General Marcus said quickly, "Status report." Patricia Hale's face appeared on his neural display. Her command center behind her filled with frantic activity. "The remnants are pushing toward Sol System. Our sleeper platforms are engaging, but these things know how to fight precursor technology. They built it, Marcus. We have maybe an hour before they breach our defenses." Marcus felt his stomach drop. Then he switched to Lady Jonah's channel. The multidimensional being was evacuating with other council leadership. But she stopped when his message came through. "Ambassador Webb. An interesting time for conversation." "I have a proposal," Marcus said. "An alliance. Immediate. Full military cooperation. Council and humanity combined." Lady Jonah was silent for a moment. Around Marcus, another explosion sent debris raining down. A piece of metal nearly took his head off. "The Council will never agree," Lady Jonah said finally. "Too much pride. Too much fear, then bypass the Council. You have emergency powers during existential threats. Use them. We have one chance at this. The remnants will destroy us separately. Together, we might survive." Lady Jonah's form shimmered. "And you trust us not to betray you once the threat is dealt with?" "No," Marcus said honestly. "But I'm gambling that you're smart enough to know this enemy is worse than anything else in the galaxy. Including us." Another pause. Then Lady Jonah's voice came back. "I will arrange it. But the High Judge will resist. Let me handle Kuvalish." Marcus switched channels, connecting to the public address system. His voice boomed through the damaged tribunal chamber. "High Judge Kuvalish, I formally request an emergency alliance under Protocol 7 of the Galactic Concordat. Immediate military cooperation against an existential threat." Kavalish's crystalline form flickered with rage and confusion. "You dare use our own laws against us at a time like this?" "Protocol 7 exists for exactly this situation," Marcus shot back. "An enemy that threatens all species equally. We can argue about territory and politics after we survive. Right now, we fight together or die separately." Kavalish hesitated. Around him, Council representatives were dying. Their ships were being torn apart outside. Pride warred with survival instinct. Lady Jonah's voice joined the public channel. I invoke my authority as senior counsel. Member to approve this alliance? Temporarily, until the remnant threat is neutralized. Cavelish's facets flashed through a rainbow of colors. Finally he spoke. Approved. Humanity and council forces will coordinate defense. But this does not absolve you of your crimes, Ambassador Webb. Understood, Marcus said. Riley, get Captain Olivia Cruz on the line. We need our best tactical minds working with theirs immediately. Across the galaxy, the strangest alliance in history began to form. Human ships that had been preparing to fight Council forces minutes ago were now coordinating with them. Captain Cruz found herself on a shared channel with a Havori battle commander named Admiral Torvin. The two species had been enemies an hour ago. Now, they had to work together. Human Captain Torvin said, his voice a deep rumble. Your stealth technology? Can it hide our ships as well? Olivia thought quickly. If you match your energy signature to our specifications, yes. We can make your entire battle group invisible to remnant sensors. Then do it. We will strike at these abominations together. It was not a friendship. It was barely even an alliance. But it was a start. The first joint operation took place near the Corsair Nebula, where human and Havori ships combined forces against a remnant attack wing. Human stealth technology masked the Council vessels, allowing them to close to devastating range. Havori plasma weapons, powerful but slow to charge, were given time to reach full power by human ships drawing fire. When the Havori finally fired, entire remnant vessels were vaporized. It was messy, chaotic. Ships nearly fired on each, other twice due to communication errors. But it worked. Back in the tribunal chamber, now evacuated to a safer location. Nora Voss was analyzing data at a speed that made her fingers blur. She had pulled every scan of remnant ships, every energy signature, every weapon discharge. There had to be a weakness. Everything had a weakness. Then louder. There. Marcus, I found something. Marcus rushed to her side. What is it? The remnants are bioorganic. They merged themselves with precursor technology on a fundamental level. Their bodies, their minds, everything is integrated with the machines. Nora's eyes were bright with discovery, but that integration goes both ways. They're vulnerable to the same quantum frequencies that shut down precursor systems. It's like a kill switch built into their DNA. The sleeper platforms can generate those frequencies, Riley said, understanding immediately. Exactly. If we use all 7,000 platforms simultaneously, broadcast on the right frequency, we can shut down every remnant ship in the galaxy. Marcus felt hope surge. Then reality hit. What's the cost? Nora met his eyes. The platforms will burn out. All of them. Permanently. We'll lose our greatest advantage. The room fell silent. The sleeper platforms made humanity untouchable. Without them, Earth would be vulnerable again. The Council could betray them the moment the remnant threat was gone. Everything they had fought for could be lost. General Hale's voice came through. Marcus, if we don't do this, the remnants will reach Earth in 40 minutes. They'll kill everyone. The platforms won't matter if we're all dead. Marcus looked at Riley, at Nora, at the damaged chamber. Around him were aliens and humans had fought and now were dying. Together against a common enemy? Now, do we have any guarantee? The Council won't turn on us afterward, Riley asked. As if summoned, Lady Jonah appeared in hologram form. I can offer you something, Ambassador Webb. A binding accord, verified by precursor authentication codes. If Earth saves the galaxy by sacrificing its advantages, the Council will honor the assembly structure permanently. Equal representation. Equal voice. Enforced by technology older than our CI. Civilizations? You can do that? Marcus asked. I have access to systems most Council members don't know exist. Yes, I can do that. But you must decide quickly. Marcus thought of the families on Mars, the children in schools on Earth, the colonies spreading across human space. He thought of Tom Rivera, the communications officer who had discovered the insult that started everything. He thought of every person who had worked for 6 years to prove humanity was more than a joke. "Dr. Pierce," Marcus said into his communicator, "activate all sleeper platforms. Full quantum broadcast. End this, Marcus." "The platforms will be destroyed," Raymond Pierce said, from his facility beneath the ocean. "I know. Do it anyway." Across the galaxy, 7,000 ancient machines received their final command. They had waited millennia for worthy inheritors. Now those inheritors were asking them to die so others could live. The platforms accepted without hesitation. They sang. A quantum frequency that resonated across every spectrum of reality. The sound was beautiful and terrible. It touched every remnant ship simultaneously. And in those bioorganic vessels, something fundamental broke. The fusion of flesh and machine tore apart. Remnant beings separated from their technology in cascades of energy. Their ships went dark. Their weapons powered down. The greatest threat the galaxy had ever faced simply stopped. And 7,000 Leaper platforms burned out in that same moment, their ancient systems finally dying after millions of years of patient waiting in the command center. Dr. Pierce watched his screens go dark one by one. Tears ran down his face. They're gone. All of them. Marcus felt the weight of what they had just sacrificed. Earth's ultimate weapon. Their guarantee of safety. Gone in a single moment, Riley put a hand on his shoulder. "We saved the galaxy and made ourselves vulnerable again," Marcus said quietly. "No," Lady Jonah's voice said. She was materializing physically now, in the chamber itself. In her dimensional hands, she held something that glowed with precursor light. "You made yourselves heroes, and I keep my promises." She activated the accord. Marcus felt something shift in reality itself. A contract enforced not by law or honor, but by the fabric of space-time itself. The Council could not break this even if they wanted to. "The Assembly will convene," Lady Jonah said. "All species equal, including humanity. You earned it."